I watched my daughter walk toward the head of the table, like she was carrying something more than just a box. She was 7, wearing the sparkly gold dress she had picked out herself, the one she said made her feel shiny like the tree. Her curls bounced with each step, but her face was calm. Too calm. Everyone else was laughing, forks clinking against plates, holiday music humming faintly in the background. No one noticed her except me. She stopped right in front of Evelyn, my husband's mother, and held out the small red-wrapped box with both hands. "Grandma," she said clearly, "Dad told me to give this to you if you ever ignored me again." That was the moment everything stopped. Forks froze mid-air. The hum of voices collapsed into silence. Evelyn blinked her wine glass halfway to her lips. She gave a tight smile, the kind people use when they think a child is making an inappropriate joke in front of guests. But it wasn't a joke, not even close. I already knew what was in the box. My husband had packed it months ago, tucked it away high in our closet, waiting, hoping it would never have to be used. That day it did. And maybe if I start from the beginning, you'll understand why. You'll understand how my daughter became invisible in a room full of gifts. How that little box wrapped in red paper shattered every fake smile that had held this family together for years. When I married Travis, I thought I was marrying into a dream, a big, loving, rowdy family. They had cookouts, theme nights, matching pajama parties. There were always at least 3 types of pie, someone on the guitar, and kids racing around with icing on their faces. His mother, Evelyn, was the queen bee of it all. She planned every event like it was a royal affair. At first, I was genuinely impressed. She was organized, confident, the kind of woman who could command a room without raising her voice. I thought, this is how strong women run families. I liked that. I wanted to be accepted by her to be one of them, and in the beginning I thought I was. She smiled during dinners, complimented my cooking, hugged me goodbye. But slowly, the warmth began to fade. It didn't happen all at once. That's what made it harder to explain. Like when I wasn't included in a group text about Thanksgiving planning, or when Evelyn made a comment about how I was very different from the women in their family, her smile not quite reaching her eyes. Things that could have been innocent but weren't. Then Lily came into the picture. Lily is my daughter from my first marriage. She was 2 when Travis came into our lives. He never blinked. He loved her fully, instantly. He read her bedtime stories, did her hair. When I was running late, called her my girl, like it had always been true. When we got married, he adopted her legally. We never used the word step in our house. She was his, he was hers. But Evelyn never accepted that. At first, she played along. She brought Lily little toys during holidays, sent birthday cards sometimes late, but still. But the difference was always there. Lily didn't get invited to cousin sleepovers. She wasn't included in family matching photos. She'd be the only one without a holiday plate with her name on it. She noticed, of course. Kids notice everything. I tried to explain it away. I told her Evelyn was forgetful, that she loved her in her own way. But every year it got harder to lie. It wasn't just the gifts. It was the pauses before Evelyn said Lily's name. The way she introduced her as Travis's girl. The way she beamed when other grandkids entered the room, but only nodded at Lily. I tried to be the bigger person. I smiled through it. I packed the cookies, wrapped the presents, showed up on time. I told myself we were doing it for Lily, that one day Evelyn would come around. But now I realize what I was teaching Lily wasn't grace. It was how to stay small, how to accept less, how to make herself quiet for someone else's comfort. And I wish I could tell you I stood up to it then. That I said something, but the truth is I didn't. Because I didn't want to be the one who caused a rupture. I didn't want to be the wife who made her husband choose between his mother and his daughter. But that choice was always going to come. And my daughter, 7 years old, arms wrapped around that red box, was the one who finally made it. If you had looked in from the outside, you'd think we were the perfect blended family. We smiled in photos. We showed up to every birthday, every barbecue. Lily always wore a dress that matched the color scheme. I always brought the homemade dessert. We looked right. That's the part that still makes my stomach turn. Because inside I was breaking quietly, slowly, and Lily was too. At first, I thought it was just growing pains. Travis's family was intense. Big personalities, loud dinners, a million unspoken traditions. I thought maybe it would just take time. Maybe Evelyn wasn't trying to exclude Lily. Maybe she just didn't know how to include her. That's what I told myself when Lily wasn't in the family photo that Christmas. Everyone wore the matching pajamas Evelyn sent out. Everyone except Lily. Hers didn't arrive. I ended up digging through a drawer to find a plain red pair, trying to convince her she looked extra festive. She smiled for the camera. But it wasn't a real smile. She was 5. She already knew. That night she asked if she could sleep in our bed. "I just feel like I don't fit," she whispered. I didn't know what to say. I held her, ran my fingers through her hair, and told her she was perfect. But I also started to feel a flicker of something else, anger. I told Travis about it the next day. "I think your mom left Lily out of the pajamas on purpose." He sighed, rubbed the back of his neck. "You really think she'd do that?" "Yes," I said, and I hated that I had to say it. He didn't argue, but he didn't do anything either. That became the pattern. I'd bring something up, he'd listen kind of, and then he'd go quiet. Say he didn't want to start a war. That his mom could be a little much, but she meant well. I stopped talking about it. But I never stopped watching. Lily would come home from family parties quieter than usual. I'd find her rearranging the toys in her room, lining up the dolls she got as gifts, always fewer, always smaller. She once asked, "Do you think Grandma just doesn't know I'm part of the family?" Another time, after Evelyn introduced her as Travis's girl at a reunion, she said, "Maybe I'm just visiting for a really long time." Those were the kind of questions that broke me. I tried to overcompensate. I made sure Lily always had the best dress. I packed extra cupcakes. I made small talk with Evelyn, gave her compliments I didn't mean. I laughed at jokes that made me want to scream. Because I thought that if I could just keep it all together, it would eventually fix itself. I told myself it was better than confrontation. But the thing is, silence becomes its own betrayal. I started seeing it in Lily's posture. How she sat smaller at the table. How she waited to be asked a question instead of jumping into the conversation. How she would pack her own bag for family events and include a book just in case no one talked to her. One Thanksgiving. Evelyn gave each grandchild a personalized dinner plate. Gold lettering. Hand-painted names. Lily's seat had a plate from the back of the cabinet. It had a chip on the edge. When Lily saw it, she didn't say anything. She just stared at it for a second too long and sat down without a word. That night, as we tucked her into bed, she whispered to Travis, "I don't think Grandma likes my name." He didn't respond right away. Then he said, "Maybe she just forgot." But I saw his jaw clench, and I remember thinking he knows now. He finally sees it. But still nothing changed. I started to resent Travis, not because he didn't love Lily, but because he didn't fight for her. He thought protecting peace meant staying quiet, but all that did was teach Lily that her pain didn't matter enough to confront. We fought about it more than once, always late, always quiet, always after Lily had gone to bed. "She's just a kid," I said. "She's learning what love looks like from how we act. You want her to think this is okay." He'd look at me with tired eyes and say, "I don't know what to do. I don't want to hurt my mom." I wanted to scream, "Then what about your daughter?" But I didn't. Because part of me still hoped too. Still believed we could fix it. That if we just kept showing up, kept being good and polite and easy one day, Evelyn would see Lily for who she really was. That brings us to last Christmas. The one that broke it all. I remember how much care I put into everything. I packed the cookies she loved. I wrapped gifts for everyone, even Evelyn. I even picked out a matching outfit for Lily and the other grandkids, just in case Evelyn had another surprise photo session. Lily was so excited. She had made a gift for Evelyn at school, a wooden trinket box she painted in art class. She glued rhinestones on it and wrote Grandma across the lid in glitter glue. She kept asking if Evelyn would like it. "She will," I said. "She'll love it." We walked into Evelyn's house, and everything was exactly as it always was. The fireplace was lit. The tree sparkled with gold ornaments. The table was set with perfect china. It smelled like cinnamon and ham, and something fake underneath it all. Lily ran ahead, holding the little box like it was a treasure. Evelyn greeted Maddie and Jonah first, kissed them, told them how big they were getting, handed Maddie a velvet pouch and whispered, "Don't open it yet." Then she turned to Lily and said, "Hi, sweetie. You look festive." She took the gift without really looking and placed it on the side table next to a candle. Like it was a napkin someone handed her by mistake. Lily sat down, quiet. I watched her tuck her hands in her lap. I watched her watch everyone else get fussed over. After dinner, Evelyn did her usual production, one gift at a time, announcing each kid's name like they were on stage. Jonah got an envelope full of money. Maddie got a brand new iPad and a charm bracelet. Then Evelyn held up a small gift bag. "This is for you, sweetheart," she said to Lily. "Didn't want you to feel completely left out." Lily stood up, walked over, took it. Inside was a lavender candle, in a plain glass jar. No ribbon, no glitter. The tag read, "To Travis's girl." That was it. I looked at Travis. He was staring at the floor, his hands laced tight. Lily sat back down next to me and didn't cry, didn't pout. Just placed the candle on her lap and looked forward. That's the kind of quiet that stays with a child long after the party ends. Later, while everyone laughed and passed around dessert, I leaned into Travis. "You have to say something," I whispered. "She called your daughter Travis's girl, like she's not part of us." He didn't speak for a second. Then he said, "I told Lily to give her the box if this happened again." I blinked. "You told her? What?" "I gave it to her months ago," he said. "Told her it was her call. If she ever felt like Grandma forgot who she really is, she could give her the box." He didn't say it like it was dramatic. He said it like it was overdue. And for the first time in a long time, I realized he had been fighting too. Just differently. The night after that Christmas party, Lily didn't say much. She climbed into bed without asking for a story, without stalling for more time. She just pulled the covers up to her chin and turned her face to the wall. I sat at the edge of her bed, watching the shape of her back rise and fall. Her silence was loud. Not dramatic, not performative, just final, like something had clicked inside her. Travis came in and stood quietly in the doorway. After a moment, Lily rolled over and looked at him. "Can I still give it to her?" she asked. He nodded. "It's your choice, Lily. I told you that from the beginning." She didn't smile, not the way she used to. Her face held something steadier, something far older than 7 years should carry. She just said, "Okay." I stayed up late that night. I couldn't sleep. I kept thinking about how small that candle looked in her hands, how she hadn't cried, how she hadn't asked for reassurance. She didn't need permission anymore. She was already past that. I finally turned to Travis around midnight and asked, "What exactly did you put in that box?" He sat down across from me at the kitchen table, his eyes heavy. "A photo," he said. "The one of me holding her the day the adoption papers were signed. The one where she has cake on her face." I knew the one. "A copy of the adoption certificate," he added. "And a letter." "A letter. I wrote it the night of Jonah's birthday party," he said. When Evelyn gave Lily the end slice of cake, no candle, no sprinkles, and then took a photo of the other kids with theirs. Lily came up to me afterward and asked, "Am I someone's cousin too?" That night, I printed the documents, wrote the letter, gave her the box and said, "If she ever makes you feel like you're not part of this family again, you hand her this." I stared at him, not angry, just stunned. "You never told me." He looked up at me. I didn't want to make it a fight, but I needed Lily to know she wasn't crazy, that I saw it too, that someone had her back. That was the first night in years I didn't feel alone in it. The next morning, Lily woke up early. She put on the same gold dress, redid her curls, wore the glittery headband from the day the adoption papers were finalized. She didn't call it her lucky headband, she didn't need to. She just put it on and said she was ready. In the car, she held the red box on her lap with both hands. She didn't fidget. She didn't ask if it was okay. When we pulled into Evelyn's driveway for brunch, everything looked exactly the same. Wreath on the door, the smell of glazed ham and too strong perfume, the soft clatter of forks and wine glasses clinking behind closed doors. But something was different this time. Not in the house in us. We weren't coming as guests anymore. We were walking in with our truth. Lily stayed close to us, quiet. She didn't touch much on her plate. Evelyn complimented Maddie's dress 3 times. She didn't mention Lily's once. I watched it all happen, like I was underwater, slow echoing, surreal. I could feel it building, the moment, the silence before the strike. And then it came. Lily stood up. No one noticed at first. She was small, quiet, easy to overlook. But when she walked toward the head of the table, holding that red box, like it weighed more than it did, the room shifted. People turned. She stood in front of Evelyn, calm as ever. "Grandma," she said, voice clear, steady. "Dad told me to give this to you if you ever ignored me again." Silence. It spread across the table, like a spill no one wanted to clean up. Evelyn gave a tight, confused chuckle, the kind you give when you're trying to play off a child's comment as something silly. "What's this, sweetheart?" she asked, reaching for the box. Lily didn't answer. She turned and walked back to her seat. Travis reached under the table and took my hand. His grip was firm, solid. Evelyn slowly peeled off the red wrapping paper. Her hands were graceful, rehearsed, like she was trying to maintain some illusion of control. She lifted the lid. Inside was the photo Travis in a hospital chair, holding Lily close, both of them covered in frosting and grinning. She stared at it longer than she needed to, like she couldn't quite process what she was seeing. Beneath it, she found the sealed envelope, opened it. She pulled out the adoption papers first. Legal, official. Travis's name under father, signed, sealed, and irreversible. She blinked, once, twice, like her eyes were playing tricks on her. And then she opened the letter. Her lips moved silently as she read it word by word. Her posture changed. Her shoulders hunched. Her mouth began to tremble. She finished it and dropped it onto the table like it had burned her. She looked around. For someone. For anyone. No one said a word. Then she screamed. It wasn't a gasp. It wasn't a sob. It was a scream-sharp, raw animal. The kind that tears through a house like a siren. She stood up, knocking her chair backward. It screeched against the hardwood. Maddie flinched. Jonah froze, still holding a fork in midair. Evelyn's sister reached out to steady her glass. Evelyn pointed at me. "This is her doing," she spat. "This girl turned you against your own mother." I stood up. I didn't raise my voice. I didn't have to. "No," I said. "Lily gave you a gift. She gave you a chance to see her. You chose not to." The fire in the fireplace crackled. That was the only sound in the room. Evelyn looked at Travis like she didn't recognize him. "This is how you treat your mother." Travis stood, slowly. His voice was level. "You did this to yourself." Evelyn's face twisted. She muttered something under her breath. I caught words like embarrassment and ungrateful. No one else moved. No one defended her. No one stood up. We didn't storm out. There was no yelling, no plates thrown, no tears. Just a coat, a scarf. A hand reaching for Lily's shoulder as she stood up beside us. We left the box on the table. We left Evelyn with her wine and her broken illusion. And we walked out together, my husband, my daughter, and me. In the car, Lily buckled her seatbelt and stared straight ahead. She didn't look angry. She didn't look proud either. Just still. That kind of still that settles into a child after a storm. Not because they're scared, but because they finally understand something no one wanted to say out loud. "Do you think she read the whole letter?" she asked softly. Travis glanced at her through the rearview mirror. Every single word he said. Lily nodded once, then turned her head to the window. She didn't say anything else the whole ride home. And she didn't need to. That night, after she fell asleep, candle still on her dresser box, left behind on Evelyn's table, I sat in the hallway outside her room for a long time. I kept playing it all over in my head. The way Evelyn looked when she opened the box. The silence that followed. The way Lily didn't hesitate. I used to think power looked like yelling, like a slammed door, a dramatic exit. But now I knew it looked like a 7-year-old girl standing still in a gold dress, telling the truth without shaking. We didn't hear from Evelyn after that. No text, no apology, not even an excuse. And for the first time in a long time, we didn't reach out either. There was no, "Let's try to talk it through." No, "Maybe we misunderstood." No scrambling to make things comfortable again. Just stillness. And in that stillness, peace. I expected Lily to ask questions, to be confused, maybe even regretful. But she wasn't. She didn't mention Evelyn again. She stopped looking toward the door during family dinners. Stopped waiting to be handed something she knew she wouldn't get. She stopped measuring herself against people who never saw her clearly to begin with. That's when I realized we hadn't just walked away from a toxic relationship, we had walked toward something better. 1 week after Christmas, a small padded envelope arrived in the mail. It was addressed to Lily. The handwriting was messy but familiar. Inside was a silver bracelet. A tiny heart charm dangled from the clasp. There was a folded note. "I'm sorry Grandma was mean. You're my cousin forever. I picked this with my allowance. Love, Maddie." Lily read the note twice. Then she slid the bracelet onto her wrist and didn't take it off for days. She didn't ask if she could wear it to school. She didn't ask if it matched. She just wore it like it anchored her to something real. That note meant more than 1,000 apologies from Evelyn ever could. Because it didn't come from guilt, or image, or pressure. It came from choice. And that's what Lily had been asking for all along, not perfection. Just to be chosen, fully, without hesitation. We started making new traditions after that. Smaller ones, slower, intentional. We didn't try to replace what was lost. The big tables, the matching pajamas, the loud holiday games. We just focused on what was real. Lily helped us decorate cookies for the neighbors. She built a pillow fort in the living room and invited us in to watch movies in our pajamas. We wrote letters to people we missed, instead of pretending to miss people who never showed up. She stopped asking what to wear to look more like the family. Stopped asking if we should bring extra gifts to help Grandma like us more. One night, I found Travis sitting at the edge of her bed while she slept. He was just watching her breathe. When he looked up at me, his eyes were glassy. "I should have done it sooner," he said. "You did it exactly when she needed you to," I told him. And I meant it. Because that box didn't just tell Evelyn off, it told Lily the truth. You are not invisible. You are not temporary. You are not a guest in your own life. I think that's what finally broke the spell. Not the scream, not the letter, but the quiet, undeniable fact that we weren't waiting anymore. We weren't hoping to be accepted. We weren't bending to be tolerated. We were done. And I'll be honest, it was hard at first. There were moments where the silence from Evelyn's side of the family felt heavy, like we'd dropped a stone into a well and never heard it hit the bottom. Birthdays came and went without a card. Easter without the usual egg hunt invitation. 4th of July without the matching t-shirts. But what surprised me most was how quickly the ache faded. Not because it didn't matter, but because for once, we weren't performing. We were just living. And in that space, that open, quiet space, we started to breathe again. Lily began asking different questions. Can we invite my friend's family over next holiday? Can we make our own ornaments this year? Can we do that thing where we write wishes on paper and burn them in the fire? Every question was a brick in the home we were building. Not just a house, not just a tradition, a home. One that fit. One that didn't require anyone to shrink. Travis changed too. For years, I had watched him twist himself in knots, trying to make peace between two sides that were never really on the same page. I saw the guilt wear him down, saw him flinch every time Evelyn made one of her subtle jabs, and he didn't call her out. But after that brunch, something shifted. He stopped explaining, stopped apologizing for his boundaries, stopped deferring to people just because they were family. He didn't become harsh, just clear. One afternoon, while packing up holiday boxes in the garage, I asked him if he wanted to keep any of the things Evelyn had given us over the years. He looked at the snow globe she gave us on our first Christmas, the one she insisted we put on the mantle every year. Then he looked at me and said, "Only if Lily wants it." She didn't, so we donated it. That small act felt bigger than it should have. It felt like finally letting go of a contract we never signed, one that said, "You will be grateful for what little you're given, and you will never question why it's less." We tore it up, quietly, firmly, and in its place we wrote something new. People talk about cutting off toxic family like it's a single clean act. Like you say the words, walk away, and that's it. But it's not like that. It lingers. Even when you know you made the right choice, even when you feel relief, there's still a shadow. Still that old urge to be the one who made peace. For weeks after the brunch, I caught myself waiting for a message, an apology, a dramatic voicemail, a half-hearted attempt to pretend nothing happened. But Evelyn stayed quiet. No Christmas card. No thank you for the gift Lily had made with her tiny hands. No request to talk. And we didn't break the silence either. The truth was, there was nothing left to say. What we needed to say had been in that box. And Lily had already delivered it better than any of us ever could. And still, even in the quiet, I found myself watching Lily closely. Was she sad? Did she miss Evelyn? Did it feel like a loss? But what I saw surprised me. She smiled more. She laughed with her full chest again. She danced in the kitchen without looking over her shoulder. She started asking for sleepovers and movie nights and backyard campouts, not as distractions, but because she finally had room. She had stopped tiptoeing through family spaces, wondering if she was welcome, because she knew now she was. Not because someone handed her a gold-embossed plate or wrote her name on a card, but because we saw her, because we stood with her, because we stopped asking her to shrink. That's what changed the most, not just her, but us. Travis was different too. It was in the small things. The way he asked Lily how she wanted to spend her birthday instead of defaulting to Evelyn's usual plan. The way he said our daughter in conversation without even thinking twice. The way he told a friend over coffee, "Yeah, we had to set some hard boundaries with my mom. For Lily." He said it plainly, no guilt, no apology. And I knew he meant it. One night, months later, I asked him if he missed her as mom. He thought about it. Then he said, "I missed the version of her I thought could exist. But not the real one. The real one hurt my kid." And that was it. It wasn't about punishment. It wasn't about revenge. It was just truth. Simple, final. That summer, Lily helped us repaint her bedroom. She picked a pale blue color and a set of glow-in-the-dark stars for the ceiling. She wanted to hang up new photos, so we sat down together and went through an old box of prints. When we found the adoption photo, the one from the red box, she pulled it aside. "Can I keep this by my bed?" she asked. "Of course," I said. "Why that one?" She looked at it for a long moment. "Because that's the day everything started," she said. I thought she meant when we became a family. But then she added, "That's the day Dad chose me." It hit me in the chest. She hadn't forgotten, not the moment, not the meaning, not the box. But she wasn't stuck there either. She just carried it like a compass, not a wound. That's when I realized Lily didn't need Evelyn to change. She needed us to stop pretending. And we finally had. One afternoon that fall, we ran into Evelyn at the grocery store. It had been 9 months. She looked thinner, tense. She was picking out wine. She saw us before we saw her. I felt Travis stiffen beside me. Lily didn't hesitate. She waved, politely, softly. Evelyn's face flickered with something surprise, regret, embarrassment. She didn't come over, didn't say anything, just turned and walked down another aisle. And Lily turned back to me and said, "I don't think she'll ever get it." "Probably not," I said. And we kept shopping. It was that simple. No chase, no breakdown, no performance. Just truth. And a kid who had finally learned not to wait for love that didn't come freely. We still have the box, not because we need it now, but because it meant something. It's in a drawer in my bedroom next to Lily's first baby shoes and the bracelet from the hospital. I don't look at it often, but when I do, I remember everything. The candle, the silence, the bracelet Maddie sent, the moment at the table, the scream, the stillness. I remember what it took to get here, and I remember that it wasn't a dramatic speech or a perfect line that changed everything. It was a decision, made by a little girl in a gold dress who had finally had enough. She didn't shout, she didn't cry. She just handed over the truth wrapped in red paper, and she walked away with everything that mattered still in her hands. Sometimes it's not the person who screams the loudest that changes everything. It's the one who finally stops asking to be seen. Lily didn't need an apology to heal. She needed us to stop pretending, and we did. She taught me that being seen isn't something you beg for. It's something you claim. We didn't raise our voices. We raised the standard. And in the end, the box wasn't revenge. It was recognition. Because sometimes the loudest truth doesn't come from shouting. It comes from choosing not to stay small. So ask yourself, what would you do if the person hurting your child thought it didn't count?